Hello again. This is Andy Nicol, the course tutor for the Perfectly Spoken Advanced course. And in this lesson, lesson 55 in the course, it's a review lesson, review number 11, which looks at lessons 50 to 54. As always, it's a level C1 lesson on the the Common European Framework and for Cambridge exams. And in terms of IELTS, more or less IELTS 7.5. Okay, so what are we going to look at in this lesson? Well, first of all, review the grammar that we looked at in lessons 51 and 53 on distancing. That's using expressions to distance yourself from what is being said, etc. And then we'll be looking at the vocabulary of expressions with age, which we did in lesson 52. And then finally looking at the vocabulary of toys and games from the last lesson, lesson 54. Okay, so first of all, distancing, and we'll first look at the reporting verbs, the passive reporting verbs that we use. Again, as I say, it's from lesson 51. So there's a lottery ticket, National Lottery, very popular in the UK. Also, we have lotteries all around the world. And here's the first sentence. Something are thought to be a number of lottery winners this week. So, as always, pause the recording if you need some time to think about it. And the answer is there. There are thought to be a number of lottery winners this week. In terms of an active sentence, this would be people think there are a number of lottery winners this week. But in English, we prefer not to use people in general as a subject of a sentence, which is why we're using the passive here. There are thought to be a number of lottery winners this week. Again, this distances yourself from what is being said. Maybe perhaps you're not 100% sure, etc. Number 2. It's something that Jasper will be awarded the promotion. Obviously, promotion is when you're given a higher position within a company in terms of the company structure. So you become a more senior manager or a manager if you've not learned a manager originally, etc. And the answer here is it seems, or it appears, that Jasper will be awarded the promotion. Seems or appears. Again, distancing yourself from what's being said. Number 3. It's something seemed that the Prime Minister has no intention of resigning. In other words, the Prime Minister has decided that she will, or he will definitely not resign. So again, you are distancing yourself from this perhaps because you're not 100% sure. And the answer is would. This is a bit more formal than just simply it seems, and also slightly less sure. Number 4, the robbery is something to have taken place in the early hours of the morning. An active version would be people believe or people think that the robbery took place in the early hours of the morning, or perhaps the police think that the robbery took place in the early hours of the morning, and the robbery is thought or believed to have taken place in the early hours of the morning. Number 5, the doctor blank to think that I'll be out of hospital in a couple of days. And you could say in a more certain way, the doctor thinks that I'll be out of hospital in a couple of days. But to distance yourself from it, in other words, you're not 100% sure, or he's not 100% sure, or she, is the doctor seems to think I'll be out of hospital in a couple of days. Number 6. The man is believed something be in his 20s and has a scar on his right cheek. And of course here we need to have the infinitive. The man is believed to be in his 20s and has a scar on his right cheek. Okay, we use the infinitive here because we're talking about the present. If you look at number 4, we use have taken place because we're talking about the past. Okay, it's what we call the perfect infinitive. The verb is thought to have taken place. And then the normal infinitive, full infinitive, the man is believed to be in his 20s because we're talking about the present. Okay, number 7. It is understood something. A spokesperson for the club will make a statement about the transfer shortly. So obviously a big club, for example, Juventus, Barcelona, whatever, have decided to transfer one of their players, so it's in the news. And after it is understood, we use that. It is understood that, similar to it would seem that, it seems that, etc. Okay, let's move on to more distancing, and this time we're looking at, just disappear for a minute so you can see it clearly. We're looking at other expressions for distancing. We're looking at according to, where you're quoting what other people have said or have argued. Apparently, similar to seems. And the modal verbs may and might for possibility. Okay, so here we go with some sentences. So a picture of a guy playing basketball. Here he'll have to give up, meaning stop playing basketball. What is the missing word here? According to, apparently, or may, or might. The answer is apparently. Apparently. Apparently is the same as it would seem. So you'll have to give up playing basketball, apparently, and apparently can go either at the beginning or at the end of the sentence. Number 2, something most scientists, climate change may soon be irreversible. This is actually, unfortunately, true. Well, some people dispute it. So in the opinion of most scientists, climate change may soon be irreversible. So we want to say in the opinion of somebody else, often experts, but not necessarily. It could be your mother or whatever. According to most scientists, climate change may soon be irreversible. Irreversible. Get the pronunciation right. Okay, number 3. Some of Shakespeare's works may not actually have been written by him. So again, we're looking for a one-word expression, which means the same as it would seem that. Again, distancing yourself from what's said because it's not 100% sure. And again, this is apparently. As I said, apparently can go at the beginning or at the end of the sentence. Okay, number 4. The patient, something, have been given the wrong medication by accident. Okay, as I mentioned before, we're using the perfect infinitive, have been given. This is in a passive form because somebody else, a doctor or a nurse probably, gave him the wrong medication. But our subject's the patient, so it's a passive structure. So here we're talking about a possibility. Maybe yes, maybe no. And of course, we use the modal verbs may or might. The patient may have been given the wrong medication. The patient might have been given the wrong medication. Number 5. Something my parents. I was a very shy, quiet child. So this is what my parents have said, in the opinion of my parents. And again, this is according to. According to my parents, I was a very shy, quiet child. I don't think that was actually true in my case, but never mind. Moving on. If you think you've saved enough for your retirement is when you stop work because you it used to be 65 for men and 60 for women in Britain. I'm not sure what it is now, 67 or something. If you think you've saved enough for your retirement, there's a possibility you will be in for a big shock. Again, may or might. Notice here we've got the infinitive without to. Be, because we're talking about the future. Future or present, we use the infinitive without to with a modal verb like may or might. Can, could, well, in terms of speculation, could, must, and so on. In the past, you use the perfect infinitive, which is have plus the past participle, like example 4. And then number 7, something the flyer. Flyer is the little piece of paper advertising an event, usually a concert or whatever. So something the flyer, the concert will be held on Tuesday at 9 p.m. So this is what the flyer says. And what the flyer says is, according to the flyer, concert will be held on Tuesday at 9 p.m. You've read the flyer and you're telling somebody else that this is what was on it. Okay, let's move on now to expressions with age. Very common idiomatic expressions and so on. But first of all, we're going to look at phrasal verbs to do with age or life, indeed. So here we go. Here are the phrasal verbs: to bring up, end up, grow up, name after, take after, and turn out. Okay, so you've got father and son there. They're physically quite similar, but also their personalities are similar. Our son is quite easygoing. He definitely something his father. It means he has a similar personality to his father. Easygoing, of course, means very relaxed, doesn't get stressed easily, doesn't panic. Takes after. He takes after. Obviously, we have to change the verb form because it's third person singular. He takes after his father. He's similar in personality. Number 2. I was something on a farm, so I know a lot about animals. This is the phrasal verb which means raised. It means my parents or grandparents or whoever looked after me, and I lived there on the farm throughout my formative years. And the answer, brought up. From bring up, I was brought up on a farm, so I know a lot about animals. That's where I was a child, and I lived and was raised by my parents or whatever. Number 3, after losing his job, he something living rough on the streets. This is where he finally found himself. This is where he, what happened to him after he lost his job. He ended up. The past of end up means this is where he was finally. Okay, after losing his job. Something on a housing estate where there was a lot of poverty. We're looking for a phrasal verb which means to basically live when you're a child, pass all your childhood years there. And the answer is grew up. I grew up on a housing estate where there was a lot of poverty. Number 4. I was something my uncle, and it's not a very common first name. So I was given the name of my uncle. I was named after my uncle. We use the participle here because it's a passive. Your parents named you after your uncle. I was named after my uncle. Number 6, when Melissa was at school with us, she was a bit arrogant, but she's something to be a really nice person. In the end, eventually, this was how she was, this was her character. She turned out to be a really nice person. Okay, let's move on. Some more. Become of, drop out, hand down, live up to, pass away, and pass for. So you've got a guy here graduating from university, and the first sentence is, I almost decided to something in my first year at university. I'm glad, meaning I'm happy, I didn't, as I went on to get a first-class honours degree. So he's very pleased that he didn't leave university before he had finished. So it's a phrasal verb meaning to leave college or school or university before you have finished, and the answer is drop out. I almost decided to drop out, the infinitive here, because we've got decided. You decide to do something, so decided to drop out in my first year at university. Number 2, does anyone know what has something our maths teacher, Mr. Cairns, meaning what has happened to him, where is he now, what is he doing? So it's a phrasal verb which has this meaning, what the person is doing now, where they are, what has happened to them. As always, pause the recording if you need time to think about it. And the answer is become of our maths teacher, Mr. Cairns. I wonder what he's doing now. Okay, number 3. Rather than buy new clothes, rather means here instead of, rather than. Instead of buying new clothes, rather than buying new clothes, my brother would, meaning he would give me his old clothes. And the phrasal verb is hand down. To hand down clothes means that parents usually give their children, if they've got a lot of children, they give their children the clothes of their older brothers and sisters, etc. And so as not to spend a lot of money on new clothes. Okay, here's number 4. My father is a really successful businessman. I've got a lot too, meaning it's going to be difficult for me to reach his level of success. Okay, so we want a phrasal verb meaning this, to be at the same or reach the same level as someone else, someone you admire, or someone that is a parent or an ancestor in some way, and it's live up to. I've got a lot to live up to if I want to be as successful as him. Number 5, Denise and Sandra are so similar, they could something sisters. They look very much alike, so it would be very easy for people to think that they were sisters. They could pass for sisters. They look very, very similar. People might think that they were sisters. And then finally on this, number 6, when my elderly aunt something, she left me a considerable sum of money in her will. A will is a document that leaves your property, money, etc. to whoever, usually relatives, when you die. And the phrasal verb we're looking for is a very polite, sensitive way to say that someone has died. And the answer is passed away. When my elderly aunt passed away, in other words, died, she left me a considerable amount of money or sum. Okay. Still on age, we're now looking at idiomatic expressions. So those were phrasal verbs. Let's look at the idioms. And here are the missing words. You've got tender, act, dog, wives, tooth, and donkeys. Because the word tender means, is often used, for example, a steak is tender. When you cook it, it's very easy to eat. It's not tough, it's tender. But tender also means very loving and caring, etc. There's different meanings. So here's the first sentence. My grandfather doesn't have a clue means he doesn't know anything about technology. You can't teach an old something new tricks. So the idiom here means that older people are very set in their ways. It's difficult for them to change or to learn new things. You can't teach an old, fill in the blank, pause the recording if you need time to think. You can't teach an old dog new tricks. This is the idea that older people cannot pick up or learn things easily. Number 2, will you stop being so childish? Something your age. It means grow up. Don't be so childish. Often this expression is continued with something your age, not your shoe size. In Britain, shoe sizes are small numbers from 1 to 12 normally. And it wouldn't work, for example, in continental Europe where they use big numbers like 45 or 46. But the idea is grow up. Don't be such a baby. Don't be so childish. The answer is act your age. Sometimes act your age, not your shoe size. You might hear or see that. I think the song by Prince, Kiss, has this expression in it, act your age, not your shoe size. If there are any Prince fans out there. Okay, number 3, how's your dad? I haven't seen him in something ages, meaning a very, very long time. Something ages. Donkey's ages. I haven't seen him in donkey's ages. Sometimes just shortened to donkeys. I haven't seen him in donkeys. And obviously idiomatic expressions are very informal. So it means I haven't seen him in a very, very long time. In donkey's ages or just in donkeys. Okay, number 4. I learned to play the piano at the something age of 5. This expression means it's a lot younger than would be expected. And the answer is tender. The tender age of 5. The use of tender here implies that the age is very, very young for whatever reason. Mozart learned to play the piano at the tender age of 3, I believe. Okay, number 5. I'm sorry, but I'm a bit too long in the something to take up a new sport. This expression means I'm too old. I'm far too old, really, to take up a new sport, to do a new sport. So, and the expression is long in the tooth, long in the tooth. I think the origin of this is to do with things like mammoths or elephants or whatever, that the older they get, their tusks, which are like their teeth, get longer and longer as they get older. So long in the tooth. Number 6. Seriously, do you believe that nonsense? It's nothing but an old something tale. A little bit sexist, this expression, I have to say. It means that it's just nonsense, something made up, not true. It's an old wives' tale, I apologise for the sexism involved in that particular expression, but it is something that you will hear. Okay, moving on to toys and games, vocab, and some idiomatic expressions. So here are the missing words. You've got a guy with a camera there, and we've got the following words. Roundabouts. Roundabouts are in children's playgrounds, are the big circular installations that people climb on and the children climb on and they spin around. Actually, I've noticed that they don't appear so often these days in playgrounds. Possibly they're considered a bit dangerous. Okay, so we've got roundabouts, we've got the preposition up, we've got fun, another preposition away, kid, and halves. Okay, so Ever since my husband got his new camera, he's been like a something with a new toy. Okay, so it's an idiomatic expression that means he's been really like excited and wanted to use it all the time, just like a small person with opens a present at Christmas. Wow, this is fantastic, and is playing with it all the time. Like a kid with a new toy. A kid with a new toy. Kid is another word for child. Okay. Number 2, tell your sister the game is blank. We know that she took all the sweets. This is an idiomatic expression, again, with game, which means that we know that she did it. We know what's been going on. We know what's been happening. And the answer is the game is up. The game is up. It means we've discovered what you're doing. The game is up. Number 3, go ahead and do what you want. I don't mind. It's all swings and something to me. In other words, it's all the same to me. I don't care. And it's swings and roundabouts. Swings and roundabouts are, as I say, roundabouts in playground. Swings are the things that you swing on in the playground. So basically you're saying it's all the same to me. I'm happy either way. I don't care. I don't mind, etc. Number 4, Janet's birthday party is a surprise, so don't give the game blank, meaning don't say anything that will make her suspect what we're doing, that we're organising this party. And the answer is don't give the game away. Don't reveal, either deliberately or by accident, what we are doing. Don't tell her or give her any clues. Number 5, I really love my job, but it's not all something in games. It can be challenging at times. In other words, you might have the perception that I'm having such a fantastic time, etc., but actually there is a more serious side to it, or a more difficult side to it. It's not as easy as you think, and the answer is fun and games. It's not all fun and games. And the last one on this, it was a game of 2-something. Manchester United dominated for the first 45 minutes, but Liverpool scored twice in the second half. So here we're saying on the one halfway through it, one side was on top, was dominant, was winning. In the other half, the other team were winning. So obviously the word is halves. A game of 2 halves, it means that in the duration of it, one person or team or whatever was on top for the first half, and then it all changed in the second half. Okay, some more expressions here. You've got ahead, pram, fair, ball, and new. And then the first one, you've got the woman working in the post office, and says, I've only been working in this post office a few weeks, so I'm still quite something to the game, meaning I haven't been doing it long. I'm quite, I'm a beginner, or I'm still learning. I'm new to the game. I'm new to the game. I'm just learning. I've just started, etc. That's its meaning. Number 2, look, just calm down. There's no need to throw your toys out of the. This expression means that to get upset, angry, or whatever in an unjustifiable way. It's not really necessary for you to get so angry. No need to throw your toys out of the pram. The pram is what mothers use to push their babies around. It's got the little bed on wheels that the parents push their children around. There's no need to throw your toys out of the pram. Means do not get upset for no reason. It's not worth it. Okay, number 3. If you ask me, the fact that he wants to be a celebrity makes him something game for the paparazzi. Paparazzi, obviously, from the newspapers, the media. So he is a celebrity. So I think that he should expect to have to deal with what comes with being a celebrity, and if the person loses their privacy or whatever, tough. They chose to be a celebrity. And the answer is fair game. I think it's fair game for the paparazzi. Initially, fair game means game is something that you hunt, like rabbits or a wild boar, etc. So if something's fair game, it means that you're allowed to hunt it. You're allowed to shoot and kill it and eat it. So that's the meaning. It means that the media or whatever can, in this case, do what they like because you chose to be a celebrity. You're fair game. Number 4, I do my best to stay something of the game to outperform my competitors. Okay, so it's an expression which means, as it says, to outperform, to be one step in front of the competition. And the answer is stay ahead of the game. Stay ahead of the game. And number 5, if you think that working for a company is hard, wait till you become self-employed. It's a whole new something game. It means it's a whole different situation. It's much more difficult. You've really no idea what it's like. It's a whole new ball game. A whole new ball game. Okay, so that's it for this lesson. In the next lesson, we'll be looking, lesson 56, we'll be looking at the following, which is grammar of verbs of seeing and other senses. Senses being sight, touch, smell, hearing, and so on. So we'll be looking at language associated with verbs of seeing and other senses. Okay, so I hope that you have enjoyed this lesson, and I look forward to speaking to you in the next lesson. Thanks for listening. Bye-bye.